What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA, and this little article on TMZ talking about the controversy behind The Woman King, the new film that's out about the African slave trade. Has a lot of folks up in arms because they didn't realize that, I guess, black people were actually participants in the slave trade, and not just as the slaves, as the folks that were capturing the slaves and selling them out to the Europeans and to other slavers. I guess they didn't understand that that was a real part of history, okay? And to me, it's funny because I've always known that to be a part of history, accepted that. I was like, yeah, you know, and it only makes sense when you sit back and think about it. Like, how did Europe come over to Africa and just start walking through capturing people? Like, there's no way in the world that would happen. They had to have had help, right? Had to have had somebody in the middle of it helping them out. That just made sense to me. Even as a kid, it made sense to me. So for people that constantly come out and cry about slavery and say how horrible it was and how it affected them and how it still affects us today, which I don't believe to be true at all, but nevertheless, folks still say, well, slavery affects us today. And for them to say that, and then they don't want to actually see the history of it and see where it all started and how it all came about. They don't want to look at that or review that. I just find it to be extraordinarily hypocritical. This is one of the problems in society where folks want to play victim and they want to use their victim card to try to get some brownie points or whatever it is that they're doing. But then when something comes in there and shakes up the victim narrative, it's like, oh, hold up, nope. You mean to tell me that it's not just this one race, that this was just kind of a universal thing, and that throughout history, when you really dig down, like every race has had their chance to be good guys and bad guys? I mean, it's just, you know, some again that most people realize, but I guess some folks didn't. They're calling for the boycott. They're saying don't go see the film because it doesn't, you know, show black people in a positive light. This women military unit was out there capturing slaves and selling them to the Europeans. It is what it is. Let's go ahead and check out this little quick article. Viola Davis's new movie has sparked fierce debate about Hollywood covering hard truths through a lens, including slavery, resulting in some calling for a boycott of this one. The Woman King hits theaters this weekend, but almost as quickly as the hype of the flick started soaring, the pushback also began, with some calling for an outright shunning because of what they perceive as whitewashing the history of the subjects depicted. The criticism, the African tribe shown on screen, the Dahomey, as well as their all-female military regiment, the Agoji, are presented as righteous, empowering liberators in all the marketing thus far. That's very true. I saw the trailers and I was like, this is interesting, you know, that this group of women were out to actually fight against men. You immediately start doing research, right? Well, how did that play out for them? I just want to read up and see how it played out. Did they win? Did they lose? What happened? How well did they do? You immediately want to go and start doing some research. And as soon as I started reading up on the Dahomey tribe, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be interesting when this thing comes out. Imagine everybody's surprised where it's like, oh, no, that's not it at all. They captured slaves and then they sold slaves to the Europeans, and then the slaves or the folks that they captured that they couldn't do anything with, off with their heads. They decapitated them and it was human sacrifices. Ugly history, right? But nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody wants to talk about that. The folks that are asking for this thing to be boycotted are people that are running from the history of the world and the truth. The trailer doesn't include any of this whatsoever. It just shows Viola training a new wave of recruits for the Agoji and battling against what appears to be white colonizers in a showdown. That's exactly how I read it too. Because of this, it seems a good handful of folks are crying foul, alleging that the studio Sony is attempting to rewrite history and downplay the Dahomey's part in all of this. While some have made it clear they're against glorifying anyone who facilitated the slave trade, white or black, and appear dead set on boycotting, others are arguing people should see the film for themselves, saying it does in fact tackle the issue with nuance. The hashtag boycott Woman King is trending. You can see some of the tweets here. The Woman King fans looking up the history of the Dahomey Kingdom. And they just reading like, wait a minute, hold up. Wait a minute, are you serious? What the hell? This guy says, my people, we have no reason to support this film. Let it fail. They're not our heroes. They're the villains. Hold up. So you saying that, oh, you know, I can't watch this film. I'm not a hero in this. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah. There's heroes and villains on all sides and all races, okay? That's just the way the world has always been, all right? Back in the day, the tribes that existed, not just the African tribes, okay? Not just the American Indians or the Native American tribes, right? But you also had, you know, the European tribes. They were all doing the exact same thing. They were fighting over resources. And enemies that were captured, if there was some kind of a slave trade going on in that time, oh, best believe those enemies were getting sold into slavery, okay? There's definitely something to be learned from this. Let's try to see what lessons that we can glean from this particular type of movie, instead of just saying, well, since they're not heroes, hey, let's just not talk about it. I only want to be the hero. I don't want to be a villain. I don't want to be a villain. I don't want people looking at my folks as villains. So let's just go ahead and let's just be heroes. That's BS. Come on, Earl, knock that off. That's BS. Let's see here. Lupita Nyong'o reacting to the horror of the Dahomey's African slave trading history. After this, Lupita left The Woman King. So she was going to be in the film. And then after she saw what was really going down, she was like, nah, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be a part of it. That's her prerogative. I don't have a problem with her leaving the film if she doesn't want to be a part of something like this. But nevertheless, I don't have a problem with discussing it. You know, I don't have a problem with looking at history and seeing what was really going down. Hollywood has played in the face of descendants of slaves for far too long. Now they are glorifying African slave traders with The Woman King and showcasing their blacks in blackface. It's perfectly fine if you had nothing but white people being the villains, okay? But when soon as some black folks are like, hey man, this was your history. This is what really happened. This is how the world really played out. Oh, I don't want to see this. No. I'm not trying to be a part of that. You know, that's terrible. That's terrible. And it's cowardly. Get off it. Stop being such cowards and face the music. Okay, this is the way it was. Face it. Do not take your children to see this movie. Rather explain these are vicious slave traders. Jewish folk would not dare glorify murderous Nazis. You know, maybe that's true. You know, maybe that is true. That you shouldn't take your kids to see this movie. Maybe you should have a conversation with them, you know, read some articles and discuss it. You know, it wasn't all rainbows and roses. There were Africans that were actually villains in this whole slave issue. And I'm going to check out the movie to see what it is. I'm hoping that they don't try to sugarcoat what actually happened, because that's the other side of this, that I've heard that they are really sugarcoating this particular film, and telling everybody, well, they weren't really against it. Kind of, sort of, they were. You know, it wasn't like they were really against slavery, but they kind of were. They were on the fence, you know. No. Like, I'm interested to see what really happened. And so it looks like in this particular case of this movie that there may be some sugarcoating of what I've heard. I'm going to check it out and see it for myself. I'll definitely have a review up on that film. And at 94% Rotten Tomatoes, 99% audience score, it's getting good ratings. So we'll see what's up with this particular film. I'll definitely have a review up for it soon. But anyway, folks, what do you think about this situation? Woman King, boycotts going on. Folks don't really want to hear about it. I don't want to hear real history. I don't want to, nope, if I'm not the hero, I don't want to be, no. Like, come on, guys. You know, this is the world that we lived in. And it's time that people actually see the whole world and not just the little narrow corner that the media wants to tell you. But anyway, go ahead, leave me your thoughts, your opinions in the comments below, and thanks for watching. See you next time.